14 years behind a cruise ship guest services desk taught me one thing. Your cabin is never just a room. It's a system, and most passengers over 60 walk straight into it blind. I watched thousands of seniors get hit with charges, health risks, and hazards nobody explained to them. These are the 15 cabin tricks I saw over and over, ranked from bad to the one that scared me the most. Number 15 starts now. Number 15. Medical fixtures cleaned like standard fixtures. Accessible cabins come with shower chairs, raised toilet seats, and grab bars. And most passengers assume those get a deeper clean than a regular bathroom. They don't. Turnaround time between guests is brutal, sometimes under 20 minutes to fully reset a room, and stewards wipe medical equipment with the same cloth and the same speed as everything else in the cabin. There's no separate protocol, no extra disinfectant, no additional time built into the schedule specifically for these items. I watched seniors with weakened immune systems use shower chairs and raised toilet seats that had barely been touched by real disinfectant. Just a quick wipe between one guest checking out and the next one boarding a few hours later. Nobody flags this as a problem because nothing looks dirty. It just isn't sanitized to the level people assume when they see the word medical attached to a piece of equipment. If you're using any medical fixture in your cabin, wipe it yourself with your own sanitizing wipes the moment you board, and again halfway through the week if you can. It takes 30 seconds, and it removes a risk almost nobody thinks about until it's already made them sick. This next one turns a helpful device into a hallway hazard overnight. Number 14. Mobility aids and cabin hazards. Walkers and scooters have to go somewhere, and most passengers park them right next to the bed or blocking the door because there's no obvious alternative in a room that's barely large enough to turn around in. I saw this constantly during my years at that desk, and it becomes genuinely dangerous fast if there's ever an emergency, and crew need to reach that cabin quickly in the dark, with an alarm sounding and a hallway full of confused passengers. Equipment in the walking path isn't just inconvenient, it's the exact kind of obstacle that turns a routine drill into a real problem. The fix is simple, but almost nobody asks about it. Ask your steward about secured storage space on your deck. Most newer ships have a dedicated area specifically for walkers, wheelchairs, and scooters, tagged and returned whenever you call for it. And in the meantime, keep a clear path from your bed to the door at all times, even if that means the equipment sits somewhat awkwardly against a wall instead of exactly where you'd prefer it. Here's one that sounds like a comfort issue, but is actually a safety rule most passengers never hear. Number 13. CPAP and oxygen safety rules. Bringing a CPAP machine or oxygen concentrator on board is completely allowed, and cruise lines genuinely want to accommodate you, but how you set it up in that cabin matters more than most people realize. I saw passengers running extension cords across the floor to reach the only outlet near the bed, taping cords down with whatever they had on hand, creating a trip hazard and a fire risk that crew are specifically trained to flag the moment they see it during a routine cabin check. Declare your equipment before you sail so the line can prepare. Bring a short, cruise-approved power cord instead of an extension cord, and keep the entire setup tidy and close to the wall. It's one of the easiest ways to protect yourself and your cabin, and it's something nobody explains clearly at the booking stage, when all anyone talks about is whether the equipment is allowed at all, not how to actually set it up safely once you're on board. This next trick hides in plain sight, and it caught more seniors than anything structural on the ship. Number 12. Pseudo-accessible cabins. Cabins labeled accessible don't always mean fully accessible, and that gap causes more frustration than almost anything else on this list. Some have a slightly bigger bathroom and a single grab bar, but the door is still too narrow for a wheelchair to pass through, or the shower still has a raised lip you simply cannot roll over no matter how carefully you approach it. I watched passengers discover this the moment they tried to get through their own bathroom door on the first night, with no way to switch cabins because the sailing was already full and every truly accessible room had been booked months earlier. Before you book, ask specifically about door width in inches and roll-in shower availability, not just whether the cabin is labeled accessible in the brochure. Don't accept the word accessible without the actual measurements behind it, because that single word covers a huge range of real-world configurations, and only one of them will genuinely work for you once you're standing in that doorway with your own equipment. Now we're moving from cabin layout into something crawling where you'd least expect it. Number 11. Bed bug handling protocols. Cruise lines treat pest incidents quietly, and that's exactly the problem. A cabin gets identified, pulled from inventory, treated, and put right back into rotation within a day or two, with no warning passed along to the next guest who has absolutely no idea what happened in that room before they arrived. I processed more than one case where a senior didn't check the mattress seams on embarkation day and paid for it in bites and discomfort for the rest of the week, sometimes needing medical attention that cost hundreds of dollars out of pocket. The moment you walk in, before your luggage even touches the floor, pull back all four corners of the mattress and check the seams, the headboard crevices, and behind the bedside tables for tiny rust-colored spots or small dark specks. If you see anything suspicious, go straight to guest services and ask for an immediate cabin change due to a sanitation concern, not specifically naming bed bugs, because that phrasing triggers a different, faster inspection protocol than simply describing what you saw. This next trick lives inside a machine most passengers trust completely. Number 10. Minibar movement sensors. Newer ships use sensors in the cabin fridge that register movement, not consumption, which almost nobody realizes until they've already been charged. I watched seniors shift a bottle of water to make room for their own drinks or medication, only to be charged automatically without ever opening the bottle or intending to buy anything at all. By the time they saw the charge on their statement, days had passed, and there was nothing left to dispute meaningfully because the system logged the movement as a sale the instant it happened. The safest move is asking your steward to empty the fridge completely on day one, especially if you need that space for anything medical or personal. Don't touch a single item inside it yourself, not even to slide something 6 inches to the left, because the sensor doesn't know the difference between rearranging and buying. Here's where cabin charges stop being obvious and start showing up when you least expect them. Number 9. Cabin origin medical bills. A hot, humid cabin with weak air conditioning, or a bad reaction to cabin materials like cleaning chemicals or synthetic bedding can turn into a genuine medical visit within days of boarding. And those bills come from the ship's medical center at ship rates, which are considerably higher than what you'd pay at a clinic back home, not land rates covered comfortably by most standard insurance plans. I saw seniors pay hundreds of dollars for issues that started with something as simple as poor air conditioning in their own room, never realizing the connection until a nurse specifically asked about their cabin conditions during the exam. If your cabin feels off in any way, temperature, smell, humidity, unusual noise from the vents, report it immediately rather than trying to tough it out for a day or two to see if it improves on its own. Treating cabin comfort as a health issue, not just an inconvenience, is genuinely the cheapest insurance you can give yourself on any sailing. This next one hides in the exact place you'd assume you're the safest. Number 8. Special needs flags. When you declare a mobility or medical need during booking, your reservation gets tagged internally in the accessibility system, and that tag shapes where your cabin actually ends up on the ship. I watched flagged passengers get placed near elevators and crew corridors specifically for easier staff access, which sounds genuinely helpful, in theory, until you realize those exact locations are also the loudest and busiest corners of the entire vessel, with foot traffic at all hours and service carts rattling past at 6 in the morning. If you declare a need, be specific about what you also want to avoid, not just what you require. Say clearly that you need accessibility features, but also a quieter location. Because leaving that second half unsaid means the ship will optimize purely for convenience on their end, not for your actual comfort during the week. Here's a risk that has nothing to do with money and everything to do with who else has a key to your door. Number 7. Security and master keys. Crew carry master keys that open multiple doors throughout the ship, including connecting cabins and rooms adjacent to service corridors, and that access exists for entirely legitimate operational reasons. But I personally processed theft reports tied directly to those exact access points, almost always in cabins near staff areas, or with a connecting door leading into a neighboring room that wasn't properly secured on both sides. If you're offered a connecting cabin or a room close to a service corridor, often marketed as a convenient upgrade for larger families or groups, understand fully what you're trading for that convenience before you accept it. Always engage every lock on your door, the deadbolt, the latch, and the standard lock, and report immediately if anything feels loose, sticks, or doesn't latch properly the moment you notice it. This next one happens in the dark, and it's more common than any other cabin injury I saw in 14 years. Number 6. Nighttime fall traps. Cabins are full of raised thresholds, bathroom lips, and tight corners that are essentially invisible until you're half asleep walking to the bathroom at 3 in the morning in an unfamiliar room. I saw more falls in the first 2 nights of a cruise than at any other point in the entire week, simply because nobody had mentally mapped the room yet, and the cabin lighting defaults to a dim, showroom-style setting rather than anything designed for safe nighttime navigation. The moment you arrive, while it's still daylight and you're fully alert, walk your exact path from bed to bathroom with the lights fully on and physically clear anything sitting in the way, including your own luggage. A small travel nightlight left plugged in near the bathroom door overnight prevents more injuries than people expect, and it costs almost nothing to pack one. Now we're into charges that don't even show up until you're already home. Number 5. Quiet folios and post-cruise charges. Not every cabin charge appears on your final printed bill before you leave the ship. Some post days later, minibar counts finalized after you've disembarked, linen fees, small adjustments that quietly show up on your card statement roughly a week after you're already back home. I watched seniors assume these were simple bank errors, when they were actually delayed cabin charges tied directly back to their cruise, arriving with vague descriptions that gave no real explanation of what they were for. Check your card closely for 2 full weeks after disembarking, not just the first few days, and if anything unexplained shows up during that window, call and specifically ask for a full, itemized breakdown of every single post-cruise adjustment applied to your account, not just a general summary. This next trick has been sitting on a shelf in the system since before you even booked. Number 4. Damage databases. Cabins have damage records tied directly to the room number, tracking stains, scrapes, and broken fixtures across sailings. But those records aren't always accurate, complete, or even properly cross-referenced against the previous guest's account. I saw seniors billed for damage they insisted was already there when they boarded, with absolutely no way to prove otherwise once they'd already left the ship and the dispute window had effectively closed. The fix is simple and takes 60 seconds, but almost nobody does it. Film your entire cabin the moment you walk in, before you touch a single item, narrate the date and time out loud as you go, and zoom in specifically on carpets, furniture, balcony railings, and bathroom fixtures. Here's one that has nothing to do with what you did wrong and everything to do with what you said in the past. Number 3. Cabin placement based on complaint history. Repeat cruisers build a profile over time inside the booking system, and how you've complained on previous sailings can quietly shape where you're placed on the very next one, whether you realize it or not. I watched polite, easygoing seniors end up in noisier, less desirable cabins simply because they never pushed back or documented specific issues, while more vocal guests with a clear paper trail got moved to quieter, more favorable locations sailing after sailing. Be specific about your needs when you book, not just agreeable to whatever is offered. Say clearly what kind of noise or motion you genuinely can't tolerate every single time you sail, rather than assuming the system remembers your comfort rather than just your complaints. This next one can quietly put your actual medication at risk without you ever realizing it. Number 2. Medication refrigeration. Cabin mini fridges are built for storing drinks, not insulin or anything else that needs a strict, consistent temperature range, and they cycle warmer than most passengers ever assume, sometimes swinging by 10 degrees or more over the course of a single day. I watched seniors keep temperature-sensitive medication in that fridge for an entire week straight, never once realizing the ship's medical center offers proper pharmacy-grade refrigeration specifically for this purpose, completely free of charge. On day 1, call the medical center directly and simply ask if your medication can be stored there instead of in your cabin fridge. It's a 30-second phone call that protects something far more important than convenience, and medical staff genuinely appreciate the call because it means one less emergency for them to manage later in the week. And this brings us to the one trick that outranks every single item on this list. Number 1. Comfort inventory rationing. Ships carry a limited stock of mattress toppers, shower stools, extra pillows, robes, and fans, and none of it is guaranteed to be available for your entire sailing, no matter how much you paid for your cabin. It goes to whoever asks first, not whoever actually needs it most, and that distinction matters more than almost anything else on this entire list. I watched seniors wait until day 3 to ask and get told everything was already claimed for the sailing, while passengers who asked within the first hour of boarding walked away with exactly what they needed for the rest of the week. No questions asked. The moment you board, before you even finish unpacking, ask your steward directly for anything you might need throughout the cruise. One sentence, spoken in the first hour on board, genuinely changes the comfort of your entire trip. You don't need to fear your cabin. You just need to know how it actually works. Like and subscribe for more.